David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. You understand? Bro, they was coming to the lane, bro. You might get your nose broke trying to dunk. You understand? Dwayne Wade broke Cole's nose in the All-Star game. Man, bro, it's just different. It was very different back then, bro.
What's good, guys? Prince Sports here. Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better. NBA legend, Hall of Famer, NBA champion, one of the greatest power forwards of all time, Kevin Garnett, sets the record straight on you trolls and some of you miseducated people that don't know about basketball. And he schools youngin' Anthony Edwards. You a young baby, you all right? You still shitting in your pants. You don't know what you're talking about so much. But don't worry, have no fear. Kevin Garnett is here. Listen to what he got to say.
Bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago, if I'm being 100. And this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
Nah.
You hear what I'm saying to you? You couldn't get to a triple step back. And then if you shot that shit, it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so fucking hard. It was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high pace. Freedom of movement means freedom of movement. Man, back in the day when you had to get by Paul, because Paul was squared up with you and ready to slide, and then he could body you, he could poke, he could use his hands, but I can use my hands.
I could fight through a screen.
Bro, the shit that we saw in the Olympics was similar style play when the guard could ride you damn near over the pick.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get out of that, and a nigga like
So, not only is he telling you that players from today probably wouldn't be able to play 20 years ago or even in the 80s and 90s, for the simple fact that the game is completely changed to a point where it's more spread out. The rules change for guys that have more offensive freedom. I told you that a million times, right? Those moves that you're doing now, you wouldn't be able to pull them off in the 80s and 90s. His bag could be completely different, right? But that still won't change the fact that he's skilled, okay? That won't still change the fact that players from the past are skilled, okay? Outside of example, Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the most skilled big men with post-up moves ever in the NBA. So that means even players playing today still aren't as skilled as he is, right? The only guy that can match him is probably the Joker in skill set. Dribbling, outside of Kyrie Irving, who got handles of a Allen Iverson, who got handles of a fucking Tim Hardaway. Not that much players, right? But those players are from the past, all right? Here's the thing that you youngins got to learn about generations. There's no such a thing as a whole generation being better than another generation. There's always bits and pieces because we operate in the gray zone, meaning there's some players from the past better than some players of today. There's some players of today better than some players of the past. Simple. Right?
I didn't see.
Yeah, it's hard to say more skill.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Nobody in this era has a mid-range.
You couldn't get nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah.
And that's far from skill. It's potential. Either you have skill or you don't. It don't matter what generation you from. There's old and slow guys from one generation. There's old and slow guys from this generation. Okay? You look at the Lucas. You look at the Jokers, they're fat and out of shape, right? But that still don't take away from the fact if they got game or not. Either you got it or you don't. Either you're born with it or you don't. That's from every generation, all right? There are some skilled players from the past. There's not so much skilled players from the past. There's some skilled players now, and then there's not so much skilled players playing right now, okay? It's simple. Everybody brings something different to the table. And at least back in the day, they had identity. You had your enforcement. You had your bodyguards. You had guys that played the game differently than what it is played now. And you know why? Because David Stern, as Kevin Garnett just said, we're going to get into that, tuck away the physical aspect of basketball. This is from an NBA legend telling you that, right? It's more easier to score and have handles when somebody ain't all up in your mug. Why do you think a lot of guys had their back turned towards the basket when they dribbling like this? Because the guy that was guarding them had his hands all over your body, right? He was hand checking you from the beginning that you bring the ball up the court. Or he was putting his hands on you being physical, trying to steal the ball away from you. So if you face guard him and you dribbling like this, and he all up in your shit, he most likely gonna take the ball away from you. So you had to put your back to the basket just to protect it, right? And far for Anthony Edwards, I keep telling you, if Anthony Edwards played in the 80s and 90s, he won't be the same player you see today. He may be a role player because his offensive skill set will be completely different. He won't have the advantage of a triple step back. I remember when step backs first came into the NBA, he was allowed to do one step back. Now you could take an extra step, okay, to a point where you're taking another step. Okay, you're damn near traveling in today's NBA and guys get away with it. You can't pull off those moves in the 90s and 80s and even the 2000s, right? Because the game keeps changing in terms of offense because they need it for money, right? They had to take away the physical aspect. About 60% of the game, the physical aspect is taken away from the simple fact that they need to have games where guys score a lot of points because they don't want people to be all up in your mug all the time. Now, I don't mean a lot of today's players are great just because they have offensive freedom. You had guys coming off the bench, no-name role players dropping 70, 60-point games, right? It's a simple fact that all it takes for them to get hot. Now they're telling you just to shoot the three because you have no specialists no more, all right? And the guys that do have a good mid-range game or a good attack in the basket game, play two-way basketball, offense and defense, they considered some of the best players in the league because they're doing something that stands out and they're elite. But there's not too many guys do that. A lot of guys will pass up on a dunk, pass it back out just to shoot a three. Okay? I mean, you can't make this shit up, you know? So understand when you're comparing eras of basketball, understand what was taking place during that time and how you will fit in that time frame. Okay? You sit there and say, oh man, LeBron James would be dunking all over Oscar Robertson. No. Or this guy would be crossing up some guy from the 50s. No, if you're not allowed to do the move, you have the same skill set or just a little bit above skill set as people in that era, because you be able to do only what you're allowed to do, right? That don't still take away the fact that greatness transcends to any era, because you could take anything from the past, put it in the present now, and it automatically going to get upgraded because it's going to have more freedom. You give Jordan the opportunity to score the way kids are scoring today. You tell Jordan you could travel more. You could take step backs. You could do Euro steps. You could attack the basket with nobody face guarding you. You don't have to worry about a Dennis Rodman or a Joe Dumars elbowing you in the face. You have a clear path to the basket because there's no bigs no more. Life would be much more easier. It is what it is. Thank you, Kevin Garnett, for setting the record straight and letting these cats know what's up. Sports out. Peace.